Well, hello everybody. I'm Dan John and I want to introduce you to Easy Strength Advanced Techniques. For those of you who follow my work, you know that not long ago we came up with a very good set of videos, readings, and questions talking about the roots and basics of Easy Strength. Well, this course, which is much broader and much bigger, carries on from there and really develops what I consider the most important techniques of Easy Strength after the fundamental basic thing of pick 5 exercises and do them for the next 40 days and, never miss an attempt. This course is much thicker, much deeper, much broader. I don't think you have to actually take the first course to understand this course, but I think it would help. But this is a unique course on top of the older course. Let's talk about what's in there. The first part is about what is the best Easy Strength method. Now, for myself, the most fundamental one is the easiest one. Just do this for the next 40 days, and that seems to work for me. But, people's lives are different, people's needs are different, and so we've come up with a number of different ways of addressing the Easy Strength ideas and fitting them into what the athlete needs, what the person needs. As we've expanded this from originally just a nice way to get strong into a template for people from all walks of life, including special forces, collision sports, and elite performance. We've also expanded it now into fat loss patients and clients. Well, we need to have a little conversation about what might be best for you. Number 2, of course, is the second chapter is what we would talk about. What are the advanced techniques? And of course, we're going to go in a lot of depth here. But basically, in the second chapter, it's going to be about tension and tempo. I like the words tension, and I like the word tempo, the rhythm idea. My students did ask a good question at St. Mary's. Why do I talk about constantly in my workshops? I use the word rhythm, but when I write, I always use tempo. It's because I can't always spell rhythm. The third topic is understanding heavy. And I got to tell you, I feel like I'm right back in the 1960s with the word heavy, man. It is hard to explain what the word heavy means. With me and all my years of experience, I can put my hands on the bar, move it just a little bit, and make a decision about, today that's heavy or today that's light. I can actually get a sense of things sometimes by the way I warm up about what loads to pick. And I'm sure a lot of you are thinking the exact same thing. But we need to discuss it because some people clearly don't understand what that means. Is I've got to make the rep, I can't miss. I have to go heavy, but not into that realm where I start to miss the attempts. So for me, understanding heavy might be the most important chapter for you to look at. From there, of course, we get into the fourth part, which is peaking. And, I don't necessarily believe in peaking, but I do believe in checklists. I do believe in getting the hotel early. I do believe in getting the flights early. I do believe in arriving early. I do believe in going through your equipment and gear or kit and making sure you have everything before you compete. And as simple as all those things I just said, those can be game changers for the bulk of the athletes I've ever worked with and just about everybody else. As a young parent, I learned the importance of always having a diaper with me. Always having a diaper with me. When I'm with a young parent who doesn't have a diaper, my first thought is this is a lesson that you're going to learn, sadly. And I use that same approach to working with elite athletes. The next one, of course, is what I consider one of my favorite topics, only because it's so funny. Part 5 is the hangover rule. Now, in the throws and in the horizontal jumps, the long jump and the triple jump, this is a truism where you don't always know when your best performance is going to happen because of so many factors. Well, what's interesting is very often you might even be facing a bad day for certain reasons. And I share with you several stories of people being hungover the day they break world records. And so we've come up to calling this the hangover rule. And it's the kind of the antithesis of peaking. It's showing up, letting things happen, and miraculously, it's the best efforts of your life. After that, we go into a lot of depth in part 6 with the tension and tempo idea. And that's when I'll take you across the whole movement matrix that begins with planks and isometrics and builds up to the more complex movement where you need tempo, you need timing, you need a rhythm to make the lift. I've been lifting as an Olympic lifter since 1974, and I still have to come back to tempo and rhythm as kind of the secret of my success on the platform. It's not just getting the biggest engine you can, it's also about getting everything in the right place at the right time. This leads naturally to me to a topic that I think is the key to elite performance. You can call it the snap of the finger. You can do this little drill here. You can talk about a rubber band. You can talk about a bow and arrow, but it's the stretch reflex. The interesting thing about easy strength is that many of the reports I get back from people is that because they're stronger but more refreshed, they can spend more time on working on the stretch reflex, the snap and things. They're not so broken down and beat up that they can't snap the discus or the caber or the Olympic lifts. So this will be a chapter that'll be eye-opening for a lot of you, and it might make a huge difference in all factors of your life. From there, we go into chapter 8, which is about loaded carries. And if you know my work, you know I have been working with the loaded carries, since the last millennium, and that's absolutely true. And I think it was one of the great game changers in my career, along with the Olympic lifts and easy strength. Easy strength, the Olympic lifts, and loaded carries are my answer to a lot of questions with all kinds of people. I hope this chapter helps you. In number 9, I start to bring up some issues. And the first question is, it comes up a lot. Does easy strength work for beginners? And the answer is, well, everything works for beginners. Can easy strength work for beginners? Well, of course it can. Are there better options? Well, maybe. And I want to be candid and honest about that and tell you that simply if you just do the basic fundamental human movements and you do 3 sets of 8, you're going to move ahead as a beginner. But it doesn't mean that 2 sets of 5 wouldn't work too, because that's how I started. And that's how a lot of us started in the 1960s, was just simply doing the basic template of easy strength that was rediscovered long after we read about it. In chapter 10, I start to bring up an issue that seems really difficult, and a lot of people, we get a lot of give and take on this. Does easy strength work with squatting? Now, what's nice about this chapter is, yeah, I think squatting is wonderful, and if you know my work, I'm a big fan of it. But I think we're getting to the point that we're starting to understand why squatting doesn't necessarily work with easy strength, and which is why I think it's so important to move through several routines a year. And this chapter will discuss squatting and easy strength. From there, I move into something that you may or may not agree with, but it's this idea of this new quadrant I've come up, push, pull, and then hinge squat, and that maybe some people are just born to do some things better, and let's applaud that for high-level performance, but we can't forget the other ones for basic hypertrophy and joint health. It'll be an interesting chapter, and I think it's going to be a really important chapter years from now when we begin to get a better understanding about working with every individual as they are, not what necessarily the book I wrote was. Chapter 12, we come right back to the concept of squats, and I begin to discuss in that chapter why hypertrophy work seems to be better when you eliminate certain things, and I don't want to give away what they are. It's an important chapter. I still think you can make squats work in easy strength. It's just a little bit more subtle and difficult to do. In chapter 13, it's a very simple chapter. It's about using the clean to get the weights up. With the pandemic, a lot of the people I worked with didn't have home squat racks, so they had to clean every lift. And as terrible as the pandemic was, we got some really interesting insights about easy strength and the clean. So that this chapter will be dedicated to the use of the clean in easy strength versus racks. The next chapter, the material's been around for a long time. I used an Olympian with this well over a decade ago to get ready for the Olympic trials. But it's the concept of even easier strength. And for some people, they just need a total do this program. Day one, do this. Day two, day three. Day four, day five, day six. Switch it up on week 3, day 1, and here you go. And that's all that material from you. Chapter 15 is something that comes up a lot lately. Can I do easy strength with kettlebells? Well, yes, of course, but maybe there's some nuances that people miss, and this particular section will help you with those small things that might allow you to use the program with limited equipment. Years ago, I would just shrug my shoulders and say, "Oh, you don't have enough equipment. Go to the gym or go buy some." And then the pandemic hit, and I had to be a much better coach. Chapter 16 is pretty simple. It's called After Easy Strength. And of course, the question there is, where do you go after you're done with easy strength? I can save you a lot of time and energy by giving the answer, but really, it's going to be the usual stuff I talk about, like having a year-long approach, having a decade-long approach. And if you know my work, you probably already know the answer to that chapter. We have 2 appendices in this program. One is the history of easy strength. It's a very simple chapter. It talks about the whole story about where we came with it, and I think it might be worth your while. And then appendix B is the work of Taylor Lewis, my good friend, who's just a bright young man, who worked with a certain population and was able to increase the cardiovascular tests of this population using the easy strength method. These people have lung issue. He improved their cardiovascular health by the test by using strength training. It's something we should at least think about and consider. Well, there you go. That's the overview. I think you'll enjoy it. I think it's priced very reasonably. Brian and I put a lot of work into it, as we always do. And the important thing is I want it on the website so that people can use these materials and reference them without having to, wait years before the information comes out. I'm Dan John, and thanks for listening today.